Hello and welcome back to the channel. So I've come up with a day and I just want to say a big huge thank you so much for everyone who liked, commented last week. By doing that, honestly, I proved that if you do it, it helps the channel so much, and it had double the views from the last video. So just clicking that like and just commenting, even if it's just a love heart, honestly helps the channel so much. So thank you so much. Honestly, I was over the moon seeing that the video rocketed more than it used to. So it's all down to you guys. So let's have a look what's going on at the plot. So I've come over again just to get some beans and do a few jobs, but I want to look at the sprouts because they're looking a bit worse. Okay, what's that doing there? So I've come over to see the sprouts and they're not looking the best, to be honest, this year. I'm going to take the net off, have a little look at them, but I think they've been scorched by the sun, and I think there is some pest damage as well. But look, what a shear. Now, I'm not sure how that's there, because one, that's the sprout bed. Two, I didn't even sow any Romanescos. And three, I haven't even got any seeds, so how the hell did that get there? But on a plus though, I did actually want to sow some next year, so to try. So I'll probably harvest that small because I'm coming over today to get some more veg for sort of roast for the weekend. So hopefully that'll go on the plate and it'll be nice. Fingers crossed, I've never had one before. So if you have eaten a Romanesco before, did you enjoy it? Do you like it? Let me know in the comments. Look at these now in full bloom. They're hanging down all the way down the truss, and I'm hoping by next year this archway will be covered, absolutely covered by these, and also by the roses from Nano and Grinch as well. So hopefully this, by next year, will be completely covered in flowers as you enter the fig and olive plot. Now, one of the main reasons I've come over today is for, yes, it's that time of year again for me, is to save seed. Now the sweet peas are all now going brown and popping open and losing the seed, but they are really papery now, and they're starting to all pop on the plants actually when you walk past. So they're inside there now. I'm gonna have to take these off. These ones are okay, these ones are drying really well, and then I always put them in jars, leave them at home in a cool dark place, and then they're good to go when you want to sow them. And I'll sow some in a few months time ready for next year, and I'll also sow some in spring as well. So if you want that early flusher color like I had, sow some in autumn as well, and also sow some in spring. But there's plenty of sweet pea seeds that I need to collect today, and also the lupins as well. So there's loads of lupin seeds on here as well. So I want to take these off and make sure that they're all dried out and they're ready to sow for next year. I've also come over today because my spring cabbages have arrived, so they'll definitely be sowed today. And my favourite one of all is the April. Now these packets are already open, so I've got to be careful, because on the way in I popped and seen Cheryl. I shared some of the seeds already with her so that she can have some as well. So, you know, why keep the whole packet for yourself if you can share them with your plot friends as well? So that's what I've done. I've dispersed some of these, and I'm sure Linda at the Feel Good Garden will have some as well. But that'll be sown today, so that's another job ticked off. And another thing that I can see while talking to you is right behind you, all the blauhilde purple beans are all just absolutely cascading off the vines, and that's another job I need to do today. So I think I need a list. Now, I noticed on the last video that this banana plant has absolutely, without a doubt, grown a good 3 foot this year. It is absolutely huge. Now, I know that is on top of a raised planter, but she's a beauty again this year. Now, you do get a few tattered leaves as well. I mean, they you know, that's just part of the plant. But these ones up here, these fresh ones, I actually have given these away to Filipino friends in the past, and they actually cut them off and use them to bake meats and vegetables and things in, and they say that the flavour is absolutely amazing by using a banana leaf. So sometimes I chop off a banana leaf, take it to work, and they use it. They got such a particular way of doing it by taking out the spine and folding it as if it's like paper, and it's kind of a nature's way of using like a greaseproof paper or a foil. So that's one of the reasons why I've got the banana plant as well here and at home, is that I do like to give them out to my friends as well. So yeah, sometimes I give leaves to my friends as gifts, and they're very grateful of them. I also had a lot of comments about the figs from last video, about people wanting to buy figs trees and what varieties that they were advised. Now, I actually don't know what this variety is called. Now, I'd guess if it was called, if I had to, it's called brown turkey, because that's quite a common fig tree to buy in the UK and quite successful as well. So, I mean, look at them. They're absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I did a picking last week and I've done another one since now. There's plenty on here, and also some smaller ones as well. Now, normally I leave these on and these seem to be this next year. So I've had a few people comment about different varieties and different ways of doing it. But I agree with them that this tree definitely needs a prune. I want to squeeze this, but I don't want it to go everywhere. But I mean, the inside, they look pretty gross. I'll show you what it looks like inside. But I mean, they're absolutely gorgeous.
Do you know I'm looking, and I can't help but smile? Do you know how much I love you? You put my favorite song on, I put my feet up, and we just sing along, and I can't help but feeling, just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here together?
Now, again, another great harvest of figs, and yeah, I've made a bit of a rookie error here. Let me show you. So last week I mentioned how flexible the branches were and you can pull them down and stuff, and that is true, but for some reason I only moved one of the branches down and it snapped, and yeah, I'm a little bit annoyed about that one because that was one that I wanted to keep for next year, but I'll show you now. So as you can see, it's split right there. Now that's a bit annoying, but I'm gonna have to cut that off for sure, absolutely, because yeah, there must have been too much weight on this branch. But I've also noticed there's another fig there ready to harvest. But yeah, this was a shame because this branch took up this area here. I mean, another branch will come, but yeah, that's a little bit annoying. But on a plus, I've got some nice, gorgeous figs here as well. It's really nice to see the pollinators out, it really is, because these sunflowers have become a haven for all the bees that are on this plot, and I tell you what, I'm absolutely overjoyed that they're actually using all these sunflowers, because, you know, they are not only pretty, but they benefit the pollinators too. But I have definitely seen a massive decrease in pollinators this year, and that will affect some crops as well. But yeah, it has been a concern, especially at the start of summer where you're normally seeing piles and piles all everywhere buzzing around. But they're here now, but they're not here in force. But it's nice to see them on the sunflowers. Now, as you can see, there is an abundance of these beans. Now, I actually like them to pod up a little bit. So these are perfect for me. I actually collect them at this size. And these are the blauhilde. I'll pop it on the screen now, and they're absolutely a cropper that I always do every year. And they, once they go over a little bit, you know, because they go a little bit green like this. They're still okay though, they're still tender. But yeah, there's loads and loads on these vines, and if you are looking for a nice French bean, then the blauhilde is one that I would recommend. And they do go green once you cook them, but they're so easy to harvest on these vines. Let's get it done.
Never felt tomorrow closing in this fast. Oh, I guess time's in a rush. Leaves are falling down, but at least they grow back. While I'm on a one-way track. Now I know what it means to grow.
Now what another great harvest. I mean, look how many beans I've got in here. Honestly, there's so many meals in here and they're a favourite of mine. Now I'll leave the remaining ones. Now what I do is, and what I've done this year again, is I've left on the back of the trellis, I've left one row that are going to pod and they're going to seed. So they're the ones now are turning a bit grey. Got a bug or something on my neck, an ant. And I'll leave those now and they'll start drying out. Then they become papery like I mentioned before, and then once they can rattle, I'll take them off and I'll save the seed, and it starts again next year.
The time I got, it is just enough to get by. Yeah, it is just enough to get by.
Now, one thing you want to make sure when you are harvesting sweet peas is that the pods are actually designed by nature to explode. So this one is almost ready. So if I left this tray now in the polytunnel just like this, now I don't use ones with holes obviously because the seeds will fall out. I just use one of the normal trays that you'd use for underwatering. And if I just put these in here now like this, and I've done this before, I've left them on there and I've come back and thought, a lot of the seeds are missing, and you blame it on birds and things. Now what happens is these are designed that when they pop, they just shoot the seeds everywhere so that obviously they can disperse their flowers for next year. So you've got to be careful, because I'll try and do it with this one now, see if it works. See how they shoot out? And I mean, sometimes you'll be here and you'll see them just popping and they explode everywhere. So my advice is, when I do this, I tend to put something over the top, maybe a bit of mesh, just so that if they do pop, they stay back in the tray. So I'm going to carry on harvesting these, but yeah, a little tip is to cover them over, otherwise all your seeds are going to be everywhere in your greenhouse or in your polytunnel or in your garden. So yeah, make sure, because they untwist like this and they shoot their seeds everywhere. So little tip from me. Now another thing I do before I cover them over is I pop in a label and I just write on there sweet pea by the polytunnel and also the colours that they are. So it just means that when I can store them later on, I know what colours they are, and if I want to go look on my previous videos of what type of flush it was and how high it was, then I can know. And you can hear them crackling in here now because they're going to start popping. So I'm going to have to cover this over. So like I said, thank you so much for all the comments that I had as well, especially the ones about the lives that are coming back in autumn, and how many people said that they loved the lives last year. And I can't stress to you how much work went into those lives and preparing for them, making sure that the topics were on cue and what people wanted to listen to, and it was fun as well, relaxed, and it gave you a chance as well to interact with me and other YouTubers on a more of a casual way, and you can see us more in a natural environment where we're having a little bit of a giggle with a glass of wine or a mug of coffee, and we talk about the passion that we love, is gardening, and that's why you're here. So Operation Chaos. Now I've kind of not given up on this plot, because I'm not doing that at all, but I've kind of let it go to what it needs to. Now I've started bringing more things up from the grapevine plot, the old plot. I found a pile more hoops and obviously some bird netting as well. Now under here is obviously there was a grassy area, and I put a weed membrane down, and I've decided I'm not keeping that down. I'm going to take this up in autumn, and the end of autumn and winter I'm going to dig all the way through here. So yeah, I'm going to dig on a no dig allotment plot, but yeah, the idea is that I want to be able to go through it and just see what the soil's like, and after that then I will stick to no dig. But I just want to make sure there's no bugs and grubs in there or any pests in there, and also because I don't know this soil, I want to see if there's any bindweed issues in there, because obviously you can see at the back there is bindweed where the shed is, and that's going to be my autumn project as well, definitely getting that sorted, the shed. But as you can see, I've already cut all that back and bindweed is starting to take over again. But yeah, overall it's looking okay and it's quite productive. But yeah, it needs a good bit of love, a good bit of Danny TLC, which that I turn over plots anyway. So this will look absolutely majestic by spring, and I'm excited about it because I've already been filming it, because I want to remember what it was like before, because when it changes it's going to look like a completely different plot, and the layout and everything is going to be completely different. But yeah, so I'm excited about that. But let me show you something. So last week I talked about the cabbages, and they are getting a bit of a damage now. For some reason my Calabos hasn't, oh, tell a lie, the Calabos is starting to heart up here and they go like a bright pink colour. I'm a bit worried about them because there is a little bit of pest attack, but I'm okay with it. There is some also little holes as well over there, which I think might be flea beetle, but I'm not sure. But they're okay. The Swede always managed for those anyway. But anyway, by here I had a huge cabbage and it was absolutely gigantic. And I cropped it, took it home, and it had split. Now, if you've ever encountered this, it just means that the plant has gone to where it needed to go and it was going to go to flower. And normally after an excess of rain, which it didn't matter because I managed to crop it just as it split, and it was easy to cut open, and it actually fed all my family, and I think the one cabbage would feed 18 to 20 people. That's how big that cabbage was. It was absolutely huge and delicious. I'm not gonna harvest the other one here now, but actually I'm tempted to because of this reason. This one is also starting to split, if you see, so you need to be careful that you don't let them go too much. Now these have been absolute beautiful cabbage. You know, there is a bit of pest damage, like I said, around the outside leaves, but inside was gorgeous. There was no slugs, nothing at all. I don't have caterpillar issues because obviously I keep mine netted, but you will always get that little pest that'll climb in, or the little one like flea beetle and other things that'll always get inside your net, so you can't control them 100%. But if you haven't, and you've had plenty of slug damage and you haven't netted them, please consider getting something like this. This is like a veggie mesh. It's very fine and you can buy it quite cheaply on like eBay and places like that, and I get it in like 15 to 30 meter lengths, and I also get a 2.5 meters wide if you're ever wondering what it is. So yeah, if you're thinking about getting some veggie mesh for next year, I get the ultra fine, and I also get, I normally get in like 30 meter lengths, and it works out about 10-20 pounds for the whole lot. And I mean, I can do an whole allotment on 20 quid. So I always get whatever length I need, and also 2.5, because that's just enough to go over the hoops and just enough then to clip them to your beds. And I'll show you what I use for clipping my beds, because a few people have asked about that, and I haven't shown it since probably the grapevine plot, because the other plot hasn't got any like wooden beds that I've used that on. So let me show you. So I use like these Carnival Clips, and they're perfect. Yeah, they do rest a little bit, but I mean, I've had these for about 2 years now, and they're perfect. These ones are 6-inch Carnival Clips, and I'll try and put a link in the description for them as well. And I mean, they fit over the beds and they hold the nets really well. Now the Greek Gigantes are in here somewhere, I hope. Now you can always tell the Greek Gigantes over the others because they're a lot wider. They're a lot wider than a normal runner bean. So I'm leaving these, and a few people have noticed that I was harvesting them, but I'm leaving these now, and these ones, as you can see, are starting to pod up. And if I opened up one of these, which I'm not going to because that'd be a waste, but I will show you in a future video, these are like lovely white butter beans, and they're perfect in like casseroles and stews, and I can explain to you how beautiful they are. Now there's some more down here. Now I don't know why, but my Greek Gigantes never seem to get huge. This is probably a good example of one. I mean, there's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 5 beans in there, and always make sure that you keep some to store and grow on for next year. But yeah, there's plenty on here, and look, I'm saying this, there's some great ones down here as well, so I'm moaning for no reason at all. Ignore me. Just ignore me. Just ignore me. I'm not going to whinge because I'm not actually a massive whinger, but sometimes I come over here and I'm like, because you put your heart and soul into the garden, and sometimes you expect too much from the garden as well, and you expect too much from yourself. But there's plenty more beans on here. I've been harvesting bean, and I'm still not sick of them. But yeah, hopefully I can get a nice little crop today, and yeah, they'll be straight on the plate for Sunday. Now, as I mentioned here, these are the Calabos Cabbage. Now, I'll put a picture on the screen of them, and they're absolutely stunning. Now, if you're looking for a nice summer red cabbage, they are pointed. They're similar to a greyhound, but red. And honestly, I can't explain to you, that on the plate, it's one of my favourite things. When I grew it the first year at the grapevine plot, it blew my mind, because that was what I expected a cabbage to do, and it performs every year. But I was worried first of all that they weren't hearting up, but they are, so thank God. They're a little bit later than normal, but that's okay because I still got plenty more cabbages on the plot to eat and to store. Now the Swedes that I've talked about, now I do Helena and normally Best of All, and I have done some Marion this year as well. But I mean, look at them. They're absolute beauties. I've had so many Swede already from this area. I think I've had about 6 out. Now I plant them just like I would with cabbage, and some people have said, oh, the Swedes are tiny. But if you plant them with some good space, I mean, look, they're under there. Now there is some white fly under there, I just seen there as well, but that's okay. They always seem to forgive and they always produce because you're not worried about the leaves. Now if you can get some beautiful leaves as well, these taste absolutely gorgeous steamed as well. But don't worry about the leaves if they've got plenty of holes, because it won't actually affect the crop underneath. Well, it never has with me. Let me show you a failure. So the cauliflowers, they're just God. Look at them. Every single one has just done this. I'm just not happy with them this year. There's not even one. I mean, this one didn't even start. And I mean, also the broccoli as well. I've had broccoli off here. I'm fed up with it. These ones have gone to flower, but there is still some here as well that I'm going to harvest there. And then this bed can be cleared out and prepared ready for some spring cabbages. So I think my point is that sometimes the plots look absolutely beautiful, and normally that's spring. People think it's summer, and I think, God, summer, it's carnage. It's absolute carnage. All the pests are out, the rain has damaged everything. Everything's muddy, you know, from the rain that we've had this year. It's been horrific. And everything starts bolting. But it's okay, you know, you will have good times, you will have bad times, and there'll be times when the plot will look absolutely stunning. And then the plot will look absolutely horrific as well. And that goes for your crops. You'll have amazing crops, and you'll have crops that will be like, what a waste of time. It's not a waste of time, because if you did it again next year, it doesn't mean it'll be a failure. That could be the year. That could be the year of the Swede, or that could be the year of the cabbage. So don't give up. Now I've also harvested a beautiful Swede ready for Sunday. Now the best time to do it is to harvest it on the day, but I can't come over here on Saturday or Sunday, so nice family weekend. But I've also got one of the leeks as well. This was one of the giant Russians. Now obviously they're not ready yet, but that'll do lovely in the pot. I also harvested that Romanesco. Well, what was going to be a Romanesco. Now I'll give it a try. I don't want it to go to flower, and I mean, it's a weird looking thing in there. So have you grown these before? You know, are they delicious? Who knows? I've also got some nice tomatoes and also some nice little broccoli stems. So this will be perfect now for a nice lunch. Now I don't think that's a bad little harvest. Look at all those beans, the figs, the runner beans, an abundance of runner beans, and then everything else in for a nice roast dinner. Now it's made me realise I need to crack on with a nice harvest table. Now Jane Kelly's got this lovely table underneath an apple tree, and she sits there with all her produce and shows everyone what she got, and I haven't got that, so I definitely want to put one of those on the plot so that in spring and summer I can sit there and talk to you and show you everything I've got, rather than me lumbering on top of a truck or something. But yeah, that's definitely in the plans. So it's been a few days now. I'm heading into the greenhouse, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, some of those brassicas that I sowed has germinated. So fingers crossed. Let's have a look. Yes. Not all though, not all. It needs a water as well, but that's okay. They do take a bit of time. It's been a few days, but I can already see that the kales have come up. What's the odds? The thing that I don't like the most have come up. The cabbages, no. So as you can see, God, they definitely need a water. So it was warm yesterday, really warm yesterday, but at least I've got some coriander coming up, the Cavallonero kale, the scarlet purple kale, and also the red Russian kale. So yeah, let's hope the brassicas come up as well. But I'm also going to sow obviously the spring cabbages today as well. I got some autumn king as well that I want to put in, so they'll be on here as well. So I do need to get some staging in here, and also start considering what I'm doing with the polytunnel over there as well for autumn and winter. And people always say to me, like, and I've had comments about this, people saying, God, you know, your polytunnels, you know, not all completely neat and tidy, ready for spring. And it always does get there, but I use it. This is a working plot. This is not a plot that I closed down for winter. I'll use that polytunnel to every second that I can. And if I use it for storage, or I'm using it for wood, or like I've got in there now, I've got doors and windows in there ready for the new shed. And then when they're gone, then there'll be something else. It's always use your polytunnel to the max. So an update from the grapevine plot. So that's completely handed over. But I did have some potatoes in there off Nano and Grinch, which were the purple potatoes, like the bluey purpley potatoes. And also I had some pink fir in there and some Charlotte. So I did do a little bit of a harvest from them. I'm sure I've probably left loads in the one bed. But I collected some, so I'm hoping that some of those blue potatoes I can try, and then some I'll save if I like them for next year. So, you know, I've been preparing already for next year, and I'm sure you're doing the same. It'll be garlic season before you know it. So start looking for those catalogues, start looking online, and if you have already, keep some of the garlic from that you harvested in July and June, and use those big cloves to plant again in autumn. And I'll be planting mine, like I always do, on October the 31st. I spy some globe artichokes. Now, they say that you can take these off and prepare them and cook them, and they taste delicious. Now, I know Nano and Grinch over at plot number 9, she loves these, and she also, there's a hilarious video where she actually gives her mum the wrong artichoke, and yeah, she was eating the wrong thing. But this one, it actually is a beautiful flower. It's actually a beautiful flower of the globe artichoke, but I like them just for some structure on the plot. But yeah, you can take these off, and each one of these little petals you can take off and eat the insides, and apparently they taste gorgeous, but I've never tried. So it's not going to be long now before we'll be chopping everything back. I mean, the sunflower hasn't even come out yet. I don't know what's going on. There are a few sunflowers coming. Where are we? Somewhere by here, if I've got the angle right. But I just don't know what's happening. There's some things that have just been a bit, you know what I mean. But one thing I definitely want to do today is make sure that I harvest the sweet peas that I said about last week or the week before, is these ones. Now, these are quite important because if I mix the seed up, I'll end up putting these in with the other seed, and I don't want to do that. I want to keep these separate. So the pods haven't actually gone that brown yet. There are some here in between the asparagus. Now, I've seen a few people on like Instagram and things like that, and they've been using their asparagus ferns for floral arrangements as well, and they're actually really, really nice for that. But before long, these will start going orange and then brown, and that's when you chop them down. You chop them down to the ground, and I'll be putting them on top of the bed after I've given it a good manure, sacked manure, and then the asparagus then will be good to go. They'll overwinter, and then they'll be back again. And I mean, next year I am so excited, because next year is the asparagus harvest year. I cannot tell you, I bought those crowns that were 3 years old, so you need the crowns to at least be 2 to 3 years old before you start doing small harvest. But I bought them at 3-year-old crowns. I paid a little bit extra for them, but I left them in as well for 2 years. It'll be 2 years coming up, so they'll be about 4 to 5 years old then. They'll be nice strong asparagus plants, and I can do a nice harvest of them. And I can't tell you, as a gardener, how patient you need to be to grow asparagus. So if you are deciding to, or you have, make sure you've planted it in the right area and keep it there, because once you plant it, it's better to keep it where it is. So don't be moving it around your plot, because they don't like it. Pick somewhere that is out the way a little bit, not going to be in your heavy traffic, and make sure that you can stake it up as well, because it gets quite ferny as well. And it's one of those crops that do take a bit of space, and you can only, you crop, once you do those crops for those 2 months, that bed is literally, no man's land for 10 months. I do put things in there like, nasturtium and things like that, but the bed is dedicated for asparagus. But I cannot wait for that asparagus in spring. So I guess that's my evening, is sorting all these out. Now, these ones take a little bit more time. These ones are perfect. You just top and tail and then just chop as you want. But yeah, I guess I'm doing beans again tonight. I'll be glad of it though in winter. And people have said like, what, you freeze beans? I found beans freeze really, really well. So I've always done it and they've always been okay for me. I'm just doing one little sweep now, just checking whether or not I've missed some really good. See, you always miss a couple. You always miss some. Oh, also I need to remember to mention that Malvern. So I'll be going to Malvern on the Sunday. I'll put the date here just to make sure that I get it right. So I'll be going to Malvern in the autumn show, and I know Jane Kelly's going, Tony O'Neill, Gem in the Gardens come in. Who else? I think Claire from the Farmyard Garden, Kerry Dog and the Plot's probably going to come. Freddie will be coming, Freddie's allotment. There's so many. Steve will be there as well from Diggle Green Fingers. There'll be so much of us here. Hopefully the regulars will be there as well. And yeah, if you want to come over and have a chat with us or whatever, like I say every single time, pop over and say hello. But we'll all be there as well on the Sunday. So yeah, that's all been planned, all been booked. And speaking of September, me and Jane had a little chat the other day, and we've decided that we're going to do a live before Malvern on September the 26th, which is a Thursday. So the Thursday night lives will be starting back on September the 26th, and it's going to be a good one. Now, speaking of the lives, I'll pop the playlist for all the lives from last year here, and also a video about me seed saving as well, ready for next year to save you money. Now, this playlist is absolutely amazing. It's hilarious. It's all your favorite YouTubers, and we're all doing live shows. And I tell you now, some of those were a laugh a minute. So just enjoy them. If you haven't seen them already, they're here now for you. I'm Danny, and this is Grow Up.